how we doing? A few months ago, I made a review on the season 1 of House of the Dragon. And with the season 2 all wrapped up neatly in a bow, I thought it was time for a season 2 review, baby. So here we are, my complete and thorough thought of season 2, House of the Dragon. Let's get this show on the road. Episode 1, A Son for a Son. We are so back! The Dragon's show is back! I was so excited for this premiere. It was one of the few things that I watched the moment it was released. It seems to be a little bit of a divisive premiere though, but we'll get into that, gamers. New intro alert! We actually have a good intro this season. It's a tapestry going over the Targaryen history. I like it. I like this intro much more than the last season.
Hey, that's pretty good.
The premiere starts off with a very nostalgic trip to the north. The Stark theme plays as the camera pans towards Winterfell. Maybe I'm biased, but I was already hooked. Alright, I was already hooked. You played that little theme song and I'm there. Alright, I'm here. I'm sitting here with my popcorn ready to go. Alright, this takes me back to when I started reading the books for the first time. It was cold out. I had that soundtrack lightly in the background while these books kept me up for days. I was completely sucked into these books the first time through. About a quarter of the way through the first one, I started watching the show alongside the book, which got interesting towards the later end of the books. Anyways, Cregan Stark, the head of House Stark during this time, gives a narration talking of duty and honor. At this point in time, the Wall seems to still be a place of honor. A tenth of House Stark at random is sent to the Wall in order to protect the rest of the kingdom. The Wall in the main series is simply a place to put crooks and thieves. During the time of Jon Snow, the Night's Watch doesn't have the sense of honor as it once did. When somebody takes the Black, they give up everything. The lands, titles, they gotta take a vow of celibacy. Their new family are their brothers of the Night's Watch. The finale of season 1, Jace was sent to see both the Aarons of the Vale and the Starks of the North in order to get them to pledge their support for Rhaenyra. Cregan Stark takes Jace to the Wall. We see Cregan wielding Ice, the family sword of House Stark. Cregan gives Jace 2,000 of his elderly veterans. He also gives warning of the threat that looms beyond the Wall. We end the scene with Cregan getting news of Luke's death. You know, at this point in time, I didn't really give it much thought, but throughout this season, there is a theme of the future of the series. There's a lot of hints towards the White Walkers coming into the series, and it confuses me, because everyone knows how bad the series ended, the main series that is. And yet the show, House of the Dragon, currently is kind of ignoring how badly that ended, it seems. I don't know what they have up their sleeve, but I hope it's good. Daemon is furious and reckless. He tries to get Rhaenys to fly with him to kill Vhagar, but our girl boss is smarter than that. Rhaenyra hasn't been seen since Luke died. She's been looking for Luke's body endlessly. Daemon says the mother grieves as the queen shirks her duties. When you're a queen, you're as Ned Stark has stated, when you're a lord, you're a parent to hundreds of people. Corlys overlooks his ships being repaired as he talks to the man who saved him last season. The man delivers a piece that the men recovered from sea. It looks to be a knife. Corlys commissioned the knife for Luke. I wonder what's more to this character that Corlys is talking to. Alan is his name, and he looks awful similar to somebody. With a quirked up Hightower soldier, we are back in King's Landing. Aegon comes in with a new flair. His actor is clearly having a blast with the character. Aegon is hilarious throughout this episode. He's looking for his son, Jaehaerys. He wants his son to attend small council meetings, which is understandable. I think it is very noticeable how scared the maids are of Aegon with, what happened last season. Not that, shocked. That little monster. That little silly goose.
Move this man!
Helena says that she is also scared, not of the dragons, but of the rats, which Aegon just makes a jest out of, because that's ridiculous. Who the hell says that? Helena's too good for this world. Alicent's getting her rocks off. That is such a funny line to say. Alicent is getting her rocks off with none other than Kristen Cole. The camera shows Alicent's hands. Her hands have been a focal point of her character. If you remember, when she was younger, she used to pick at her hands. It used to be a tick of her anxiousness. Afterwards, they talk of weather, as if this is just a regular thing between the two. There were moments last season when Kristen was noticeably missing. Was Alicent banging Kristen? When Aemon got his eye cut out at the same time? This was the same time Rhaenyra was hooking up with Daemon, so it'd be kind of poetic. These two characters, Alicent and Rhaenyra, might not be so different. They might be just opposite sides of the same coin. Alicent helps Coles his white cloak back onto his armor. Gotta keep those appearances up. Definitely don't want to look like a couple of hypocrites now, do we? Alicent and Coles show up to the small council together, who Otto takes note of. Aegon and Jaehaerys shows up. Funny enough, Aegon likes Jaehaerys. He likes this little squirt. Maybe if Aegon got the proper support and love he needed growing up, he would have treated more people with this same level of kindness, huh? Instead, he was neglected by his father, and I'd say slightly traumatized by his mother, being forced into this level of conflict at such a young age, only thinking about politics at such a young age. Aegon's this little guy tries to play with Lord Lannister's council ball. Aegon laughs at it. Tyland seemed so confident when Viserys was in charge. Now that silly little guy is gone, he shriveled back into the insecure man we originally saw him as. Aegon welcomes his brother, Aemond, to the council. The two young men want to strike with their dragons, while the elders want to show restraint and wait for more houses to declare for Aegon. After a discussion with Loras, Alicent dismisses her bathmaids and cleans herself, trying to scrub away her sins. I'm sure she feels disgusted by who she has become. Rhaenyra, still trying to find her sons, sees a group of peasants pulling something out of the water. And tucked inside are the clothes of her son. Was his body in there too, or was it just his bloody clothes? It doesn't really matter. The confirmation is what she needed to be able to start grieving. Aegon the Magnanimous enters the throne room. He has a few new friends. These lickspittles, and they look to be from House Arryn and Estermont. I don't really know much of Estermont, but House Arryn is the house that Tywin Lannister in the main series completely wipes out, and he gives, and the infamous song that's played during the Red Wedding is based around that event of Tywin wiping out this house. The Reigns of Castamere. These lads look like Malfoy and his crew in Harry Potter. Petitioners are presented to the new king, Aegon. Aegon is kind towards the small folk. He's got a put on a face after all. If they see how much of a little gremlin he is, the small folk wouldn't support him. He also doesn't fully understand how the logistics of a king life is yet, you know? It is the cusp of winter. A peasant is complaining that his flock of sheep has been taxed due to the war brewing. Aegon states that he will make his flock whole. Otto rolls his eyes. Walking up those steps, he explains to Aegon that if he does that to one peasant, word will spread, and more peasants will demand restoration to their flocks. When the king speaks, all hear. Another peasant comes forth. The camera focuses on him more, where it indicates that he's going to be a bigger character later on. His name is Hugh. He's a smith. I do hope we get to see him more. This man looks badass. I always like seeing characters who represent the small folk. Characters like Davos and Gendry. Hugh asks for the smiths to get paid before they start working, and Aegon agrees. Loras pulls Aegon off for a quiet word after the petitions. He gives warning about having Otto as hand. Didn't Loras give an offer to work with Otto last season?
Perhaps.
This little snake. The White Worm is found on a ship trying to flee Westeros. A plotline that I kind of skipped over in the last season was Mysaria. She used to be with Daemon, then she turned herself into a master of whispers of sorts. Last season, she ended off with her whole place being burnt down after trying to make a deal with Otto. That's how they found Aegon in the first place, when they were trying to put the crown on him. The White Worm wanted to end the fighting pits in exchange for Aegon's location. We didn't get a confirmation on whether or not she lived through that fire, but it looks like she survived and is trying to leave this place. Daemon fears that she's been selling secrets to Otto. He sees her as a traitor, and she's simply trying to make it in this world. Since she is not a highborn, she has to make do. He blames her for putting Aegon on the throne, and Daemon locks her away in the cells. Sir Eric, the Kingsguard that defected to Rhaenyra, speaks up on the matter of honor. Mysaria was no agent of the Hightowers, but Daemon doesn't really care. Rhaenyra's back. She walks in, and the only words spoken by her this entire episode are, "I want Aemond Targaryen." I think it's possible we might get justice on the horrid Mad Queen arc that we got in the original show. I think with what's to come, and what has already happened, seeing Rhaenyra slowly slip would be a much more satisfying arc than Dany's. Daemon goes down to the cells to meet Mysaria. He wants information on the Red Keep. I think I know what he has planned. Now we probably get the best scene in the entire premiere. After his long voyage, Jace is back on Dragonstone to report that Stark and Aaron houses have pledged their support. Jace is trying to hold back tears. He's trying his best to be a strong lord. Rhaenyra gets up to comfort her son, and they cry together. It's such an emotional scene that comes out of nowhere, really. I wasn't expecting to see Jace on Dragonstone in this episode. Alicent goes to the Sept and gives her respects to the dead, and that's including Rhaenyra's son, Luke. Daemon goes to King's Landing to meet with an old work colleague. Yes, Goldcloak still calls Daemon commander. Daemon really had the respect of these guys. He recruits him for a mission. He then meets a rat catcher who knows about the secret passages of the Red Keep. The Goldcloak, we're gonna call him Blood, alright? And the rat catcher, Cheese. Blood and Cheese. And they're gonna try to assassinate Aemond. Cheese asks, well, what happens if we can't find Aemond? And the camera holds on Daemon. Cuts to the next scene. Another one of Daemon's ambiguous moments. Aemond is itching to fly on his dragon. He wants to show force. He's tired of this war of quills and ravens. Aemond, he says Alicent still holds love for the enemy, which makes her a fool. Blood and Cheese sneak into the Red Keep. They pretend to be rat catchers. They open the door to the throne room, and Aegon is just having a ball. It's a frat house in there with Aegon in charge. Aemond is nowhere to be found. They're on the hunt. Blood stumbles upon a maid. He says he's here to catch rats, but we're not so sure if she bought it or not. A noise comes from the next room. Cheese has Helaena by the throat with a knife. A son for a son. Helena's children are sleeping nearby, but Blood can't tell which one's which. Helaena tries to give them her necklace, but they want the son. Helaena is forced to give up her son, the heir to the throne. While Blood and Cheese get to work, Helaena takes the opportunity to grab her daughter and make a break for it. She runs to Alicent's quarters, and she finds Alicent banging Kristen Cole once again. And we end the episode with Helaena saying, They kill him! They kill the boy! Now, I've seen a lot of complaints about this episode. How it was underwhelming, how they botched Blood and Cheese. I don't know. I personally really liked this episode. I thought it was a really good premiere. Emma Darcy's acting, Jace and Rhaenyra's scene together, and seeing my poor Helaena in that scenario won it over for me. The acting is superb, and I don't mind the plot. Alright, Blood and Cheese. I do know George R. R. Martin has a lot of complaints about this, and you know, I can't argue that if the creator has problems with it, who am I to say, alright? But I personally really liked this premiere. I respect their approach to this season. They're taking their time with this, and I can appreciate that. In the books, Blood and Cheese is played out way differently. Helaena had two sons, and they forced her to choose between the two, and Blood and Cheese ended up choosing the other one instead. I think both scenes are very horrific. I've seen complaints that they didn't show enough gore.
Huh?
We heard the toddler's head being sliced off, for God's sake. I do not need to see it. Hearing it is just fine, okay? With that being said, it might be a hot take, but I loved this premiere. We're back on the Dragons show, and I'm excited for the rest of this season. I'm actually writing this script while the episodes come out this time, so the season review won't take as long as the last video. At least, you know, last video came out literally 2 years after the damn after the damn season was released, so it'll be a little bit, but I'm wrapping up this video fairly quickly.